This is lesson 2 of Unit 6 in Algebra 1B. We're looking at quadratics in this unit. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on switching between the different forms of quadratic equations. In our first lesson, we learned the three forms: factored form, standard form, and vertex form. What we're going to do today is we're going to see that because those forms are equivalent, they're equal to each other, we can switch from one to the other. Your objectives here are to recognize if a quadratic equation is in standard form or factored form. That's an important step before we do anything with an equation. We want to know what type of equation it is. From there, we're going to turn factored form equations into standard form equations using binomial multiplication. This is something that we learned in Unit 5. We multiplied and we drew those lines above and below. We're also going to turn a standard form equation into a factored form by factoring a trinomial. This is that product sum puzzle that I taught you in Unit 5 as well. We want to review some key terms, specifically factored form. That is one of the forms we learned of in Lesson 1, and it's got the two factors. It's got two sets of parentheses. Standard form was another form where we had a trinomial. That form has three terms. There's no parentheses, so we want to look out for that as standard form. And finally, factoring. That's the process to divide a polynomial into factors. This is that product sum puzzle. Again, because these different forms are equivalent, we can go from one to the other using algebra, using those solving skills. If I graph these two equations here, y equals x plus 3 times x plus 5, and y equals x squared plus 8x plus 15, you'll see that they overlap. I'm using this website here called Desmos. I've tried to link it here, but I don't believe it's working. But if you go to desmos.com, you can use the same graphing calculator tool. We can see that this purple line has the red and the blue lines overlapped. That's one way to show that these are equivalent. Another would be to actually go ahead and simplify these two problems. We said that we need to use binomial multiplication. If we ignore that y for now, and we just focus on the parentheses, we can do x times x and x times 5. That gives us x squared plus 5x. And then 3 times x and 3 times 5. When we combine our like terms, we get x squared plus 8x plus 15. That is the exact same equation that we're given over here on this side. We could also go the other direction. I could take this standard form equation here, and I can do the product sum puzzle. We're going to multiply to 15, and we're going to add up to 8. So we could build our list. What numbers multiply to 15? Well, 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. Now we ask ourselves, which pair adds up to 8? Well, 3 and 5 does. That matches with those factors we were given over here to start. When we practice this skill, it's important for us to remember that we are finding equivalent equations. We're just writing them differently. Let's start by doing that binomial multiplication. We go from factored form to standard form. Again, factored form has these two binomials. It has two sets of parentheses. In these examples, we're going to convert from one form to the other using that multiplication. So I draw those two lines above from the x, two lines below coming from the 5. We don't need to worry about the y on the left side. Because it's on the other side of an equal sign, it just stays y. But if we look at the other side, we're going to have x squared from x times x, 7x from x times 7. We have a negative 5 here for the next part. So negative 5 times x is a negative 5x, and then negative 5 times 7 is a negative 35. We will combine like terms to finish simplifying this. So again, the x squared won't change. 7x minus 5x gives us a 2x. Because the 2 is positive, we'll say plus and the minus 35 comes down without any changes. We have just found our standard form from the factored form. All we're doing is taking that multiplication skill we learned last unit and making it into an equation. Let's look at one more example. Again, we don't care about the y on the left, we're just focusing on these two parentheses. X times x gives us x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. Negative 3 times x is a negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 gives us a positive 3. Make sure you're multiplying those number terms when you are multiplying these binomials. A lot of people still want to add or subtract those. From here, we take this answer, we combine like terms. Negative 1x minus 3x gives us a negative 4x. So there is our equation for number 2. That's going from factored form to standard form. I'll let you all try number 3 on your own in the notes. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here, and in the next video we'll pick up with the backside where we're looking at factoring standard form.